Tonight, Justin Trudeau isn't invited to meetings with our NATO allies anymore, but he sure knows how to party in Davos. It's January 25th, and you're watching The Ezra Levant Show.
Why should others go to jail when you're the biggest carbon consumer I know?
There's 8,500 customers here, and you won't give them an answer.
You come here once a year with a sign, and you feel morally superior.
The only thing I have to say to the government about why I publish it is because it's my bloody right to do so.
Canada's place in the world is falling. Last week, when the United States Secretary of Defense hosted a meeting of military allies, he did not invite Canada. He invited Australia, which isn't even a member of NATO, but not Canada, and we are. It's obvious why, because Justin Trudeau has announced his intentions for Canada to abandon the 60-plus nation coalition fighting against the Islamic State terrorist group. So why would they invite Canada to the meeting? To take selfies? Now we're hearing reports that German military officials are mocking Canada's armed forces, not our actual soldiers who have the admiration of the world and who served generously in Germany for decades during the Cold War. The mockery is for our troops' leaders, as in Justin Trudeau, who sees our military as social workers at best. I mean, fair's fair. If Trudeau can mock our military, why can't others?
Why aren't we talking more about that? Why aren't we talking more about the kind of humanitarian aid that Canada can and must be engaged in, rather than, trying to whip out our CF-18s and show them how big they are?
Yeah, if that's what Trudeau thinks of our military, why should others think differently of it? We're losing the respect of other allies, too. In a bizarre press release published yesterday by Stéphane Dion, the foreign minister, he commented on the wave of terrorist murders in Israel, where Palestinians attacked Jewish civilians with knives, including the murder of a mother of 6 last week. But get a load of this wording. Canada is concerned by the continued violence in Israel and the West Bank. The violence has persisted for over 100 days. So you're concerned. That's it, eh? You're not condemning the violence. And you won't describe that violence or say who's doing it, but you're concerned. And then amazing, shocking, in literally the same press release, Dion offers his view on things that Israel has to stop building settlements, which is what Dion calls Jewish apartment buildings in eastern Jerusalem. He calls those, quote, unhelpful and constitute serious obstacles to achieving a comprehensive, just, and lasting peace. So in the course of one short press release, he says he's concerned about violence, but he won't call it terrorism, won't say who did it, and won't condemn it. But he'll immediately imply that Israel caused that violence because building Jewish homes in Jerusalem is a serious obstacle for peace. So he'll name and shame the Jews for building homes in Israel, but he won't name and shame Muslim terrorists for murder. And he'll imply that one caused the other, as in Israel is to blame. This is shocking, but not really. No more shocking than our NATO allies realizing who Trudeau is. And as one Dion staffer blabbed to the media recently, you ain't seen nothing yet. As soon as the Liberals can just lock in that Jewish fundraising again, you'll really see them go pro-Palestinian. They're bragging about it in newspapers. Even Barack Obama, who was no buddy of Stephen Harper, had a degree of respect for Harper. Harper was a serious man who went out of his way to work cooperatively with Obama, so much so that Harper appointed an NDP premier, Gary Dewar, to be his ambassador to the U.S. in the hopes that Dewar would be able to click better with Obama and his people, but still be a powerful advocate for Canada. It was a brilliant appointment, actually. Trudeau, he just appointed a Liberal Party crony. He chose David McNaughton, rewarding him for being the co-chair of Trudeau's Ontario campaign. So handing out entitlements as gifts, rewarding friends. Oh, I should point out that McNaughton was also heavily involved in Dalton McGuinty's provincial campaigns. Let's just hope, for Canada's sake, that none of the Ontario scandals or police inquiries touch him. My point is, Harper and Obama were extremely different men, ideologically, personality-wise, etc., but they kept it professional, and Harper sent the best fit for ambassador he could, and the United States worked with Canada even on their key disagreements, such as the Keystone XL pipeline. Even on that, Obama respected Harper enough to hold off rejecting it as long as Harper was in office. He didn't want to insult Canada when Obama knew he needed to work with Harper. But mere weeks after Trudeau was elected, and he announced he was quitting our fight against the Islamic State and withdrawing our forces from the coalition, Obama realized he didn't have to behave well towards Canada anymore. And boom, he rejected the pipeline. So much for sunny ways. Israel, the United States, our NATO allies. That's a lot of foreign relations damaged by Trudeau in 90 days. But that's the reality-based community. What about the celebrity-based community? The selfie-based community? Well, things couldn't be better there. Justin Trudeau is doing far better than Harper did already. Take it from none other than Gerald Butts, Trudeau's principal advisor. He went with Trudeau to a star-studded vanity gala in Davos, Switzerland, to hobnob with celebrities, in which Trudeau gave a high school graduation-style talk about Canada using his best substitute drama teacher voice. Here, just listen for a minute.
My predecessor wanted you to know Canada for its resources. Well, I want you to know Canadians for our resourcefulness.
The Canadians also know fully well that growth and prosperity is not just a matter of what lies under our feet, but rather what lies between our ears.
So a few quips and puns. So resources aren't important to the world. Oil, gas, coal, timber, fish, wheat, uranium, potash, gold. That's boring. It's all about being hip, taking Instagram pictures of our cafe lattes now or something. So basically, Trudeau agreed with Obama that the world shouldn't take our oil exports. Canada produces hundreds of billions of dollars of oil and gas and other minerals a year, but Trudeau thinks that's passé. I mean, surely we can export hundreds of billions of dollars worth of cliches and selfies a year instead. And all of this, he claims, was in the name of promoting trade and investment, really, by trashing oil and gas. No wonder Denis Coderre, the anti-oil liberal mayor of Montreal, knows he can get away with bashing Alberta and Saskatchewan. I mean, isn't that really the subtext of Trudeau's remarks there? But did you get that dig at Harper? Trudeau won the election, he's in charge now, but still he feels the need to denigrate Harper in front of a foreign audience 3 months after the election. Why? The campaign's over. Isn't his job now to represent all of Canada? Doesn't that come across as small and small-minded and petty and partisan to jab at your predecessor? Forget the lie of sunny ways, the laughable liberal claim to being friendly and happy. They're not. They're vicious, and they just hate Harper still. You saw what Trudeau said there overseas disparaging Harper, but look at the official version of the speech posted on the Prime Minister's website. Look at that line. They edited out the "unlike my predecessor" insult. They edited it out. Why? Are they properly ashamed? If so, good. But why are they lying about what Trudeau said? But here's what I'm getting at. So Trudeau has offended Obama. Trudeau has offended our NATO allies and Israel. Canada is shut out of important meetings now. So Trudeau goes to the rich kid Playboy circuit in Davos, Switzerland. It's not a government meeting. It's really like one of those TED Talks where people get all buzzwordy and futuristic. It's full of graspers and grifters, people looking to look smart, like Hollywood celebrities who want to sound super committed to the world. So naturally, Leonardo DiCaprio was there, came in by private jet to denounce oil and gas. What a hypocrite. But again, really, Justin Trudeau came in on a private jet to denounce oil and gas too. What's the difference? Other than DiCaprio could probably explain the hard parts to Trudeau. The Canadian Media Party was there in full force too. Here's a selfie they took. Don't tell me that the Canadian media is in tough economic times when they can afford to send this many reporters to follow Trudeau around from party to party. But of course, they want to party too. Harper didn't really party a lot. Naturally, it's way more fun as a reporter to cover Trudeau. Aaron Wherry of the CBC actually wrote a whole story about Trudeau's socks. Seriously, about his socks. The CBC flew a reporter to Davos, Switzerland to report on socks, which is perfect because that's the level where Trudeau really excels, doesn't he? It reminds me of Tom Clark's killer question to Trudeau on the campaign trail.
The one that the entire country wants to know. What shampoo do you use?
He's way more fun than Harper. Well, it was imperative that the journalists justify their trip to Davos to their own bosses and to their readers. as about being more than just partying or socks. So look at this very first sentence of the Globe and Mail's big story. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says he hasn't been partying it up with Hollywood celebrities and rock stars at this alpine ski retreat for the global super elite. Okay, I guess DiCaprio is part of the super elite. A different circle, say, than the defense ministers of all our NATO allies, but come on, which is sexier? But you heard the Globe, it was all business, not partying. But look, this is the CBC's Hannah Thibodeau. She wasn't pretending. Look at her gushing fangirl report. Bono, Spacey, and DiCaprio. Trudeau chats with celebrities at Davos reception. Scroll down there. Scroll down there. The CBC actually posted a picture of Kevin Spacey, an actor, at a coat check. Hannah Thibodeau was so excited by this, she actually went up to him and asked for a fangirl picture and posted it. What do you say to Kevin Spacey when you run into him? Hi, I'm Hannah from Canada. I'm a dork. No, you're just a giddy fangirl. Kevin Spacey, Justin Trudeau, whatever. You just want their autograph. You're not a news reporter, Hannah. You're a cheerleader paid for with tax dollars. And you have no shame. You should be working for Teen Beat, writing about boy bands. Here she is again, reporting on Trudeau's deep policy work at Davos. She calls it selfie with global shapers. Yeah, those are kids. They're students. That's Justin Trudeau's natural level. He loves giving graduation commencement address style talks to kids. They're not global shapers. They just say they are or will be. The actual global shapers were at the NATO meeting in Paris about the Islamic State that Canada wasn't invited to. This is an embarrassment, but look, it's at the CBC's level and the Globe and Mail's level and Kevin Spacey's level. But enough making fun of the media and Hollywood. I mean, we know who they are and what they are, especially the CBC. CBC just got a $150 million budget increase as a success fee for helping to elect Justin Trudeau. Look, they're the liberals with press credentials, really. But look at this one. This is a tweet from the communications director for Catherine McKenna, the environment minister. Here, take a look. And then Kevin Spacey came by at Canada reception. Amazing. Three exclamation points, three. Hashtag amazing. He's a Hollywood celebrity. He is not a world leader. He's not a foreign minister or a prime minister or a defense minister. He comes to parties. This is what he does when he's not working. And by work, for Kevin Spacey, I mean, he's an actor. He reads scripts. How is that not beneath the dignity of a cabinet minister, let alone Justin Trudeau, who was in the left of that picture? Is that why Trudeau ran for office, so he can get into a higher level of celebrity clubs? One Davos delegate said it was sort of cheap, actually. Let me quote. Admittedly, everyone's party had DiCaprio, Cameron, Bono, and Trudeau. They were like a wandering mariachi band in a tourist trap. Oh my God. So that was Trudeau's busy week. No serious meetings of consequence. Lots of selfies, lots of celebrities, lots of drinking. You know, I don't even think Trudeau notices that Canada's not at the adult table anymore, because that's too boring for him. He loves the kids' table. Photos with kids, photos with celebrities like a kid would want, drinking parties like kids would do. This is where Trudeau has always been in his life and always wants to be. Do you really think he wanted to go to that Paris meeting about the Islamic State and talk about boring things like maps and military matters and borders and countries with the grown-ups? He's thrilled. He didn't have to go to that defense minister's meeting and fake interest and bone up on facts. What a relief. So the media loved it. They either lied and said there was no partying going on, or they admitted that the partying was going on and it was awesome. I mean, if Bono and DiCaprio are your thing. But let me close with what Gerald Butts thinks of the whole thing. As you know, he's the real prime minister when it comes to policy. He's been Trudeau's brain ever since college. Look at them together. Butts was Trudeau's policy brain during the campaign as senior strategist, and he is now Trudeau's principal secretary. He traveled with Trudeau. Here's what he thought. Let me read his tweet. He said, many people downplaying the PM's extraordinarily positive global reception said he couldn't be PM because he'd embarrass Canada abroad. You know, Butts is right. It was an extraordinarily positive reception. Trudeau really fit in well with social climbers, Hollywood virtue signalers, millionaire trust fund kids at Davos. They loved him, and he loved them back. What's so terrifying, though, is that there is no grown-up in Trudeau's office, certainly not Butts, definitely not in our press gallery, who are there to point out that, no, this Swiss Alps party circuit, that is not foreign affairs. That is not diplomacy. That is not promoting Canada's national interests. That stuff, that hard work, is usually done during working hours, without booze and drugs and celebrities. It's done in rooms full of serious people, rooms where we're not even being invited to anymore. Stay with us for more. How much fun is that? That is YouTube star Casey Neistat, who in the blizzard in New York decided, well, I'm going to go out and film myself snowboarding down Manhattan streets. There's this great scene when he just goes right through Times Square holding an American flag. Wonderful. And joining us now via Skype to talk about Casey Neistat and the history of blizzards in New York City is our friend Mark Morano, who joins us now via Skype from the Washington, D.C. area. Hey, great to see you again, Mark.
Hi, guys. We're happy to be here today.
Thanks. You know, I was told by no one less than the former Vice President of the United States, Nobel Prize winner, and Oscar winner, Al Gore, that this sort of thing would be impossible, that snow would be a rare event. We would have to tell our children what it was like to once have snow. And here's a guy literally snowboarding down the streets of New York City. What went wrong?
Yeah, well, it wasn't just Al Gore. The entire global warming establishment, including the United Nations climate reports, warned of less snow. In 2000, a UK scientist and the UK Independent, big headline, snow is a thing of the past. The New York Times, Michael Oppenheimer, one of the chief UN scientists, who also was, by the way, heavily funded by Barbara Streisand, has come out and talked about his daughter's sled, buying his daughter's sled and lamenting that she could never use it because of global warming. That was back in the late 90s. Yeah. Now, according to meteorologist Joe DeLeo, this decade of the, I guess you'd call it the teens, is the snowiest decade on record for the U.S. East Coast so far. And that was already that way before this storm. So these are just blockbuster breaking records. And, of course, the global warming establishment is now pivoting. They're saying, hey, what's the big deal? What is a snowstorm but an extreme storm? We told you extreme storms would go up. Yeah. The problem with that is across the board, no other extreme storms are going up. And there's really no trends even in blizzards if you look at it. If you look at peer-reviewed studies over 40, 50 years or even longer, there's no trends in these kind of storms. But, yeah, we've had a bad decade so far of big mega blizzards hitting. And the global warming activists, as you pointed out, are trying to have it both ways now.
Well, and that's the thing. If there was no snow, I mean, it was nice and warm a few weeks ago in the Northeast and across most of North America, not in Western Canada, though. And so the global warming activists were saying, you see, it's a very warm winter. That's proof of global warming. Big snowstorm. You see, that's proof of climate change. I just want to show you some pictures. We dug up some pictures, Mark, that are too obvious to show anyone except for someone with the kind of learning of Al Gore would need to see these. Here's a picture these are pictures of New York snowstorms. This is from 2010, 20 inches. Here's one going back to 1996, cross-country skiing. This is 20 inches and to reportedly kill dozens. Here's a picture from 1947, 26 inches of snow, 77 people died. And then this is a picture from 1888. 21 inches of snow killed 200 people. So the idea that blizzards are rare or a new thing or an old thing or gone It's just something that happens every winter. And actually, because of industrialization, we can weather these, cold or warm days better than we could in the past. It's nothing weird or wacky. It's called wintertime.
No, not at all. In fact, you mentioned it when you opened this. At Christmas, we were told, in fact, Bette Midler did an article, a tweet, saying, thanks, climate deniers, for 70 degrees at Christmas. They actually blamed global warming skeptics and or, just fossil fuels for a warm Christmas on the East Coast. Then we have record snow, and now they're just pivot and we blame it on that. There's no way you can falsify the theory. And you're right, going back like you just did with all those old clips, I believe it's from Real Climate Science, Steve Goddard's site, that you can do that when it comes to floods, hurricanes, tornadoes, droughts, and you can show that nothing unprecedented is happening. And by the way, I'm a Washington, D.C. native. I remember the 1979 storm we had, the 1983 storm. I remember 1993, 96, 2010, and a couple others in between. This storm was about equivalent to the 1996 storm, and I would still say the 2010 was much worse because we had back-to-back snowstorms, and the visibility. I drive my Jeep all the time. I go out and drive around in the snow while it's snowing. In 96 and 2010, I had whiteout conditions, and I remember actually scaling back and going back. This time, there was no winds that would justify that. There were some coastal winds, and it may have hit a definition of blizzard, but I don't think this storm was nowhere near as bad as, I shouldn't say nowhere near, but not as bad as 2010 because they were back to back and it was intense. So I don't even think this is unprecedented within the last 5 or 6 years is what I'm trying to say in the Washington, D.C. area.
Yeah. Now you mentioned Steve Goddard. What a good egg. We've interviewed him before, and he constantly digs up. He has access to, I'm not sure which database, but he likes typing in common phrases used by global warming worriers to show how their predictions over the years have just proved so false. But people still listen to them and publish them. Here's one. This is from 33 years ago, where experts were predicting an 8-degree temperature rise, causing the seas to rise 4 feet. Just crazy predictions didn't come true. Here's another one from 2008, so not even that long ago. NASA scientists, we're toast. In 5 to 10 years, the Arctic will be free of ice in the summer. Just didn't happen. These are courtesy of Steve Goddard. Let's throw one more. This is a fun one. You see, this is from 1971, but it predicts a new ice age. But as you point out, Mark, they've covered both ends. So the global warming worriers, no matter what happens, they can say, it proves my theory. When you have an unfalsifiable theory that cannot be changed by facts and evidence, that's called a superstition, isn't it? It's not even science anymore.
Yeah, and they don't even pretend. I mean, they pivot. They'll call it the permanent drought in California. Now they're getting tons of moisture and flooding, and now they're saying that's global warming. They don't even attempt to hide it. Now, I tried to pin down Michael Oppenheimer, the UN lead scientist, professor from Princeton, and I asked him about his failed predictions from the 80s and 90s, and I was very specific in my questions. And what he came back to me was, yeah, I may not have got those right, but who could have predicted the following? And he gave me a bunch of other predictions. Arctic ice is declining, or, he brought up hurricanes and other stuff that he would bring up. It's mostly anecdotal stuff. But the point they do is they won't actually hold themselves accountable for past predictions. They'll just find anything they think is extreme today and say, aha, well, we didn't even predict this. Look at how bad that is. And it's like getting Jell-O, getting Jell-O to stick to a wall. I couldn't get anywhere with Michael Oppenheimer to get him to admit that his predictions failed because he just pivoted so quickly. Of course, his background is Environmental Defense Fund, so he's an activist, knows how to deal with the media, and my hat goes off to him because I couldn't pin him down.
Yeah.
He was able to squirm out of it.
Yeah. Analogy I would use is a watermelon. So, you press down it from the right, it zips to the left. You press down from the left, it zips to the right. Warm or cold, these people always say it's proof that you need to pay more carbon taxes. Hey, Mark, great to see you. Stay warm out there in all this global warming, okay? If you need any help shoveling this global warming off your walk, don't call me. Anyway, nice to see you. Stay with us, folks. More after these words.
Looking for the perfect gift? Did you know the Rebel.media has a store? Make a statement with a t-shirt. Have your morning coffee in a Fearless Travel coffee mug. There's even an Ezra Levant bobblehead. It's a one-stop shop for the perfect gift. And don't forget to pick up something for yourself. Go to therebel.media/store to find out more.
Welcome back to the program. Well, one of the themes of our show is freedom of speech in general, but also this particular and pernicious war against free speech of certain people. I find these days, especially in Canada, that there's a particular war against free speech of Christians. We've seen it in the public square, literally in Yonge and Dundas Square in downtown Toronto, where a Christian preacher was banned and a Christian choir was banned. We've seen it with Trinity Western University, that is not allowed to have its Christian values. Only Christians. They don't pick on Jews or Muslims or other people in the same way. And I bring you the latest case, not Christianity per se, but a conservative religious view from the University of Toronto at Mississauga. And joining me now via Skype from that university to talk about it is the president of the University of Toronto Mississauga Students for Life. Her name is Diane Zettel. Diane, nice to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you, but the subject matter that brings us together is not pleasant. You wanted to start a campus club at UTM because you represent a political point of view. And I remember my campus days, there's lots of political activity, political parties, advocates on the left and the right, and the whole spectrum of opinion. But that's the thing here. Your particular opinion was blocked by the Students' Union. Am I right? Tell me the facts.
Yes, you're right. We were actually recognized as a club the year before. We're a pro-life club. And it wasn't until this year that we were actually denied club status.
Okay, so were you badly behaved in the last year? Did you commit any violence or break any laws? What caused you to lose your status that you had last year? You seem like a peaceful person to me. You seem quite polite, politer than me. Why did they take it away?
So in fact, there were no specific instances where we were acting out of hand or anything. The reason that our club status was taken away was mainly because of the political nature of our club and because of our stance on abortion.
Okay, well, as I mentioned a moment ago, universities are chock full of political clubs. When I was a student, I was part of something called the Reform Party Student Society. There were Christian clubs and Jewish clubs and Muslim clubs, and there were left-wing clubs and right-wing clubs. There was a gay club. There was a feminist club. I bet there's so many more today. Let me ask you the obvious question. I know the answer to it. I just want to hear you say it. There are other political clubs on your campus that are allowed to be political, right?
Yes, there are. There are all different kinds of religious clubs and clubs affiliated with political organizations. Like you said, there's lots of different clubs of different natures. So
how did they communicate to you? I mean, like, here's the student union's official mission statement: to safeguard the individual rights of the student regardless of race, creed, or sex, or political beliefs. So your political beliefs, your personal beliefs, you could even say it's your creed, is to protect pro-life. So how can the University of Toronto Mississauga say that it protects diversity of opinion and your rights, but then specifically say, no, you're pro-life? How did they communicate that to you? I mean, did they not realize that they were breaking not only their own rules, but I would say the Canadian Charter of Rights and our constitutional freedoms? How did they communicate this to you?
I guess they wouldn't have really realized that. Their first communication with us was in August when they told us that our club status was denied. But it wasn't, and they didn't really provide us with a sound reason as to why our club status was denied. Shortly after that, they replied saying that it was because that we were telling women what to do with their bodies. But they didn't really provide us with a very good reason as to why.
Yeah, now obviously you don't go around and say to women, do this with your body, do that with your body. That's their metaphorical summary of your pro-life position. That's what a pro-choice activist would say to a pro-lifer, which is a fair debate. But this wasn't two different points of view debating. This was the referee. This was the student government saying, we do not allow your point of view. So at first they didn't give you any reasons. Then they said it was because you were pro-life. Now, when you pushed back, they changed their reason for shutting your club down, didn't they?
Yes, they did. When we continually asked for a chance to appeal the decision, when we went to go appeal the decision, they kind of changed their idea and said that it was because of some minor discrepancies in our constitution with relation to the UTMSU club's handbook.
All right. I think I've got a good picture of what's going on. Here's the good news. You've teamed up with my old friend, John Carpay from the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms. He's a lawyer for free speech, especially for Christians driven onto the public square. What are you guys doing? Are you suing?
Yes, we're taking court action against the student union. And so we're asking to be recognized just as any other club.
And have you filed that lawsuit yet?
Yes, we have. It was filed on Friday, and I just got notice that it was served on this Wednesday, so a couple days ago.
Excellent. Well, I'll have to get a copy of the lawsuit from you or from John and put it up on our website. Now, I spoke to John earlier today, and I asked him, can we help fundraise for this? Because obviously, he's not charging you for his legal fees. You're just a student, and he's a public interest lawyer. He accepted our offer to raise some funds for this case. And so I'd like to call on all our viewers who are concerned about this kind of censorship, not just of free speech, but when you think about it, freedom of religion and freedom of association. The kind of bullying that you went through there, Diane, is something I think we've got to stop. We should stop it against anyone, but it just so happens it's always the same people being picked on every time. Diane, I'm going to ask our viewers to go to therealbigots.com, because that's what I call these censors. They claim to be on the side of diversity. Yeah, they're on every sort of diversity except for the ideas they don't like. That's why I call them the real bigots. So if folks go to therealbigots.com and chip in, we will cut a check to John Carpay, as we have several times in the past, for his Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms. Diane, last word to you. What do you hope happens here? What do you hope the final resolution of this will be?
Well, we really hope that the UTMSU will acknowledge their actions, that they have denied us free speech and freedom of expression. And we're also just hoping that this can be an example for other pro-life clubs at other universities across Canada, as I know that we're not the only ones who struggle with these kind of issues.
That's great. Diane Zettel, president of UTM Students for Life, appreciate your time. Help is coming in the form of John Carpay, and we'll try our best to chip in too. Folks, stay with us. So much more after these words.
I love Alberta. I've lived here my whole life, and I'm proud of it. I'm proud of our free market, pro-business, low-tax, do-it-yourself attitude. And now, I'm watching my province get destroyed. We've all had hints of the NDP's radical views in the past, but no one actually thought they'd ever run this province. Not even them. And now they are. And the worst is yet to come. I give my sad forecast for Alberta in my new ebook, The Destroyers, Rachel Notley and the NDP's War on Alberta. Go to thedestroyers.ca to sign up for your free copy today.
Welcome back. My favorite part of the show, viewer feedback. Christian writes, so Quebec doesn't like pipelines. I totally, wholeheartedly agree. So in the name of the environment, we should shut off all of the natural gas pipelines from Alberta immediately. Heaven forbid one springs a leak. Let them freeze. Hope they have a lot of wood stored up. Where is this generation's Peter Lougheed? Well, it's bizarre to me, the delusion that Denis Coderre is propagating as mayor of Montreal. Quebec actually has a lot of natural gas and oil in its feet. Did you know that? I mean, there's shale gas in Quebec that could be fracked. There's a lot of oil there too, offshore, near islands like Anticosti and Old Harry. But they refuse to develop their own oil and gas. They'll let the Western boys do the work, and they'll just take the profits through equalization payments. But you're so right. How do you think the oil and gas gets to Quebec? By unicorn? No, by pipeline or by train. Well, if Denis Coderre doesn't like pipelines, cut them off. For more info, visit our website at cutthemoff.ca. Sign our petition. Chip in to help our radio and billboard campaign, too. That'll be great. Richard writes, I never heard back whether you will be coming to cover the only province, Manitoba, that may be PC blue in the spring election. Every time you talk on your show, it's like Manitoba doesn't exist. You jump from Alberta or Saskatchewan to Ontario. I can understand Saskatchewan because Brad Wall is a good premier, but Alberta, Manitoba, and Ontario are the only ones that can change, and Manitoba's time is up. Hi, Richard. Thank you for your complaint, which I accept as valid. Manitoba is a great province that is one of the worst governed in the country, but that's not its fault. A combination of bad politicians, bad media, and bad public sector unions keep it propped up that way. I will take your advice to heart and encourage our team and try to expand our coverage of Manitoba, especially with the upcoming election. Forgive us, we're not as big as the CBC. We're still small. We don't have the resources that the pro-NDP media has, but thanks for the nudge. We will try to improve our coverage. Harold writes, I believe that the rebel media should take a break from all the criticism of Sophie Trudeau. I know this woman and can say without prejudice that she is a warm-hearted person and a very loving mother. It goes without saying that she loves Canada as much as anyone. With her, a little understanding would go a long way. Perhaps the rebel media could cut her a little slack. Hi, Harold. I understand what you're saying. You're saying she's a wonderful person and a mom and a citizen, and she's wonderful as those things. Okay, got it. But what about when she moves from private person to public person, to campaign weapon for the Liberal Party? What about when she foists her personal life onto the public dole? Like when she put her 2 family nannies on the public payroll as taxpayer-paid nannies, 2 of them. Or more to the point, when she went to a Martin Luther King memorial event about the Black Civil Rights Movement and assassinated U.S. leader, and she turns it into a vanity karaoke opportunity to sing some American Idol song she wrote about her little white baby. Yeah, I'm going to say that that's no longer just the act of a private citizen, but a public manifestation of the vacuous Liberal Party. And I would say that her public conduct is fair game for criticism. No more or no less than Laureen Harper's public campaigning was too. Welcome to the big leagues. Hey, that's our show for today. If you have any letters to the editor, send them in, Ezra@therebel.media, Facebook, or tweet them to me. Make sure you go to cutthemoff.ca. We want to get that billboard. We got a billboard campaign. I didn't mention it here. Go to cutthemoff.ca. We've got a billboard campaign and radio ads that we're launching. Check it out. That's it for today. Tune in tomorrow. From everyone here at The Rebel, keep fighting for freedom. Bye-bye.